Hey Mad Minders, thanks for tuning in to Mad Minds TV. This week's study is on change management. 6 scholarly papers reviewed, and the paper I gravitated to is called Managing Organizational Change, Philosophy of Change Approach. It was published in 2010, and the authors are Fiona Graetz and Aaron Smith. The reference is below. Up until this point, all the change management papers I've read or have been handed discussed change agents, getting people's buy-in, and motivating others to accept the change because the changes was best for everybody. The way I'm interpreting this paper, based on focusing on philosophies like power, control, thought process, it dissected how institutions look at change based on unlimited amount of resources, and how the private sector looks at change because there's not an unlimited amount of resources. Changed upon there how I look at organizational change. And as I reflected on my earlier years as a professional, it all makes sense now when it comes to power and control. Just because you're sitting in a boardroom with somebody and they nod their head and tell you they agree with what you're saying in terms of your change initiative, doesn't mean when they leave that boardroom and they go back to their organizations or their unit that they're actually going to do what they told you they were going to do that was agreed upon in that boardroom. And I say that because as I reflected as a young professional, I would read what the change was supposed to do. I would go to what's called all calls or commander's calls. You would hear the commander push their vision out, and then you go back to your smaller organization and none of that was happening. And this paper kind of put it all together for me in terms of egos, based off power, control, and microcultures. But with that in mind, we're actually going to touch on a change story that everybody may be able to relate to. It took me a while to find one, but I did. And it's on what's called travel cards. You would know it as a corporate card for when you travel to go see clients. The story takes place in 2012, 2014 time. Around that time frame, I traveled a lot. I was probably gone 2 to 3 times a month, and my trips were all over Europe because that's where I lived at that time. Now, somebody came up with a great idea of a new travel card. This travel card would require the traveler to cut it on every time they wanted to use it, and when they got back from a trip, to cut it off. The problem with that system is to cut it on, it had to go through 72 hours worth of approvals, and a lot of my trips at that time frame, I would get a 24 to 48 hour notice, and then I was gone. So you can see how that would cause issues for me. Luckily, the change was going to take 2 years. And because that change was going to take 2 years, I was going to try and hold on to my old card that allowed me that was kept on at all times as long as possible. To simplify the story, we're going to go company A. The new company is the company that you need to go through 72 hours worth of approvals to get the card cut on, and you have to cut it off when you get back from a trip. And company B is going to be the company where the card stays on at all times, and if somebody calls you at 10 o'clock at night and says they need you on a plane at 6 in the morning, you don't have a problem getting everything ready and then leaving. Now, the problems arose when company A got hacked. Within about 3 to 5 months into the change initiative, the company got hacked, a lot of money was lost, and there was an immediate 180 pivot. Everybody who got company A cards were told to shred them, get rid of them, and go back to company B. Now, that didn't affect me because I wanted to hold on to company's B card as long as possible based off my travel tempo. But that affected a lot of people. A lot of people and a lot of units went full speed ahead into company A for the purpose, honestly, of performance reports. Yeah, we're 100% compliant. Everything's good to go. And then they had to do a complete 180. And the reason why I remember this initiative specifically is based on the change agents, how angry they were. They took 3 to 4 to 5 months pushing this initiative only to have to turn around and roll everything back. And the reason why that mattered to them is because the change initiative didn't go as planned, and they were told that can't go on your performance reports because it actually wasn't a success. And that really caused some struggles, and I could see it when they were talking to me, and I would just sit back and listen and do my best to socially support others. Now, with that being said, now I have questions for you. What change initiatives are you seeing in your work centers? Do the change initiatives you see succeed? Do they fail? When change is brought up in your work center, does it bring disdain or does it bring excitement? With the amount of change our society has seen over the last 2 years, and the fact that there's going to be a lot more change over the next 8, how is that making people feel? Are you in an industry that's predicted to be nothing but robots and artificial intelligence by the end of the decade? And if so, comment below. Let me know how you feel, how things are going, and what you're seeing in terms of change in your industries, even in your countries if you're in a different country. Put the country down there, tell me what's going on, and I'll definitely try to find a translator as well. As always, I have to say, these videos are just me thinking out loud. That's what mad people do. They think out loud. At no point in time is this advice or is this guidance. Do me a favor, comment below, like, subscribe, and as always, don't forget, stay mad, be well. Thanks again, and see you next week.